Here's an altcoin chart, AVAX down around 30% in the last week and a half or so. And I enjoy cryptos, altcoins, everything just going higher and higher, higher highs, higher highs, higher highs. I enjoy it. But when I look at this chart, I'm very happy to see this retracement. In this video, I want to discuss why that is. We're going to dig into ADA. We're going to dig into AVAX to really bring some context into play in regards to what's happening with altcoins. But Bitcoin, whether you're a Bitcoin only holder, whether you're a Bitcoin and altcoin holder, whether you're just an altcoin holder, this chart, the weekly chart on Bitcoin, what's happening with Bitcoin, and namely the Bitcoin spot ETF, this is so important. It is pivotal in terms of all of our crypto portfolios. I truly think that. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why, the dynamics between Bitcoin and altcoin markets right now. Please hit the subscribe, hit the like, and let's just jump right into the video. I want to start with Bitcoin as a foundation, as often I like to do, and then we're going to look at ADA on the charts. What's happening with consolidation of ADA, AVAX? What does downside potentially look like for cryptos and altcoins against Bitcoin? For this video, I want to discuss, I kind of want to assume Bitcoin spot ETF going to be approved. And just the reason why, if the SEC were to deny all spot Bitcoin ETFs, the applicants would immediately sue, and the DC Court of Appeals would again rule that the SEC was arbitrary and capricious, says U.S. securities lawyer James Murphy. So this is a huge reason why much of the industry thinks that the spot ETFs are going to be approved. Not only to say these massive firms that are in process waiting to be approved, they're under the assumption that they're good to go. It seems like rumors, inside sources are saying the green light is getting ready to happen. So that's why I think, and I'm going to assume throughout this video as we dive into the charts, this is why I think that it's just going to be approved. Now, what does Bitcoin do in the middle of this approval, or off the back of this approval? This is Bitcoin on the weekly. The bull market doors I've been talking about a lot. Lower high Fibonacci is this area. I'm waiting for Bitcoin to make a run up to that area. So Bitcoin on the daily gives us context into what that looks like. And I'm going to talk about the dynamic between what happens here on the Bitcoin chart and what happens to altcoins. We talk about this a lot. Altcoins take turns pumping. Cryptos take turns pumping. Sometimes Bitcoin is the one. Bitcoin is the one with the spotlight. It's moving. It's seeing crazy gains, kind of parabolic gains, and altcoins are not doing anything or even falling. This is the type of environment that we're kind of in right now. Bitcoin looking pretty healthy on the daily chart, while we have AVAX, ADA, and other altcoins just kind of falling to the downside. This is happening now. As the spotlight continues to kind of focus on Bitcoin right now, this might continue to be the case. Now, this is what's so good for altcoins, is the very fact that if you go to an altcoin like ADA was making really nice move to the upside on the weekly, and then we've been in this consolidation at this huge, massive resistance. Put aside Bitcoin spot ETF for just a second. In the cycles of crypto, when moves like this happen on altcoins, and here's a kind of a similar move we've been comparing last cycle, and this is Shelley hard fork. When moves like this happen, consolidations happen, right? So consolidations happen. This is why we have targets to the downside for these cryptos. Targets to the downside for ADA, targets to the downside for AVAX. Consolidation happens. Now, if it's happening in an environment where Bitcoin is getting just kind of a lot of capital is gravitating towards Bitcoin for a moment while those altcoins consolidate, I think it's even more healthy, a healthy consolidation that primes the altcoins, and there's going to be more downside in play. I want to talk about that in this video in a minute, but it primes these altcoins for once they are done consolidating for the next level up, and we're going to look at what that looks like. But Bitcoin on the daily chart, we're waiting for the news. Today is Friday, January 5th. Could it be after regular business hours, the ETF news comes out that it's approved? Yeah, it really could be. There were rumors from sources saying it would be today, but it could also be Monday. We have until the 10th. A lot of people are speculating between the 8th and the 10th, but what does Bitcoin do here? For now, as Bitcoin just kind of grapples and interacts with this entire symmetrical triangle, maybe back down to the lower trend line, back to the 50-day moving average around 41,000. Maybe we're getting a fake breakout to the downside. Bitcoin approval comes into play, moves to the upside very quick. This is a daily chart, but this could happen quick. Maybe we just start trending upwards. Approval, boom, $50,000 target. altcoins not in the spotlight. And so when it is time for Bitcoin to finally consolidate after a potential move to say $50,000 target, and then it starts consolidating, this could be the kind of bottoming out short-term time frame for altcoins. So to give you an example of what I'm talking about, if we look at ADA on the daily chart, this is ADA on the daily. ADA has a 45-cent target to the upside. We've been tracking this symmetrical triangle, right? Really just this upside resistance here. This is a Lux Algo order block we've been talking about, but a lot of resistance there in general, right? We've been talking about the potential for a breakout to the upside. Did it happen? Absolutely not. It didn't happen. We got a breakout to the downside. And right now, that 45-cent target is just very much in play. That's another 8 cents to the downside for ADA. Total consolidation for something like ADA from the swing high, we're looking at a total consolidation of around 30%. You go over to AVAX. Here's AVAX on the daily, currently down around, so far around 33%, currently around 28%. Let's go to a weekly chart on AVAX. And this is exactly what we like to see in consolidations. On these moves, right, to the upside. What do we wait for, especially when getting 50 or 20 moving averages crossing above 50 moving averages? What do we wait for? We wait for just the consolidation into those moving averages now for support. This could see AVAX trickle down to around $25, $30 to the downside, right? So that could be a total dip for AVAX of, let's say, 46% to the downside. Going back to ADA, if we go to ADA on the weekly, what does that potentially look like for ADA? Also just getting that 20-week moving average crossing above the 50-week moving average. Well, for ADA, we're looking at, from where it is right now, maybe another 20% to the downside if ADA is to fall below its 45-cent target, hitting around 40 cents in the next couple of weeks as Bitcoin does its thing. We need to let Bitcoin do its thing in its spotlight off the back of the Bitcoin spot ETF news. Now, what I want to talk about in relation to altcoins, which gets very lost in all the short-term Bitcoin spot ETF news. On this chart, we're talking about consolidation of things like ADA, right? Letting these moving averages come back into ADA. And you can just see, if we look at this is what happened after this nice move to the upside back here. It fell into these moving averages, the 50, the 20. So anticipating something like that, once again, in play. Back then, it was a dip of around 50%. Right now, it could be a total dip of around 40 to 50%. While we're waiting for this, I want to go to the daily chart. I just want to note something. Let me get my call out and go to January 17th right here, just to give you an idea. SEC versus Coinbase. That is the SEC versus Coinbase oral arguments. Look at this. Maybe ADA as Bitcoin and maybe ADA and altcoins, AVAX included, maybe they can continue to the downside, consolidating as Bitcoin gets the spotlight. What happens here? And that's a big what happens here. SEC versus Coinbase oral arguments. Altcoins in the spotlight. ADA is so much in the spotlight in this case, named as a security in the case. And Coinbase will be fighting for ADA, fighting for the entire crypto industry, really defending the fact that these altcoins are not securities. This is the main piece of the argument. What happens in these oral arguments? Is it good? Is it bad? If it's good, could this be the end of consolidation? Look at the confluence of this potential news, January 17th. And the way this timing sets up, I'm not exactly sure, but just look at how brilliant this could be. Even if ADA continues to the downside, even if AVAX continues to the downside, and we're starting to get just this very typical consolidation, right? Consolidation, it's still falling. Everybody's getting bearish on crypto. AVAX at 25 or so. The moving averages are just coming into AVAX here on the AVAX price chart. And then mid-January, Coinbase, something positive happens with Coinbase. Put aside Coinbase, SEC. This consolidation in moving averages, critical and just important for the launch pad for the next leg up. But then you sprinkle in potential bullish Coinbase news right here as the consolidation is happening. we're getting consolidation. And right now is the exact time we want it on these altcoins. AVAX, ADA, Solana, any of the altcoin markets. We want the consolidation right now. We don't want it. We don't want all these altcoins oversold, or I'm sorry, overbought, right, on these momentum oscillators. We don't want this happening while there's bullish Coinbase news. I'd way rather bullish Coinbase news, and there's no guarantee it's going to be bullish. Maybe it's going to be bearish, in which case we have to anticipate, just more targets to the downside. That's for another video. But I would way rather some bullish news. Here's ADA on the daily. After some consolidation, or maybe even approaching oversold, bullish news comes out, launchpad set. This is obviously so speculative. There's so many moving parts in terms of Bitcoin having the spotlight right now. What does Bitcoin do? Is it going to be the sell the news event type of deal on the Bitcoin spot ETF? In which case altcoins could make a little bit more dramatic move to the downside, right? But either way, the next couple of weeks, as altcoins consolidate, I think it is so important to keep an eye on where they're consolidating to, start monitoring the supports, right? All these moving averages on ADA, for instance, they're down here. The 20 and the 50, right around 35 to 37 cents. AVAX, you go to the weekly, they're down here, $17, $19. Allow that space to just consolidate. But what happens with the Coinbase SEC case as that foundation is being laid, being set? That is huge. That is something I'm watching. And I want to say this. There's this case where Bitcoin spot ETF is approved, Bitcoin's moving to the upside, and maybe altcoins want to react positively to that. And they're not going to just fall or continue consolidating to the downside while Bitcoin just mooning or something. Maybe it's all cryptos in general. They're going to have some good vibes off of the Bitcoin spot ETF news. But one thing I do know is I'd like to respect the technicals. And when we get moves like this, meaning the move from these lows to overbought, consolidation is normal. Lows to overbought, consolidation is normal. Bitcoin spot ETF in play or Bitcoin spot ETF not in play. These moves are normal. So I like to anticipate these moves on these altcoins. And really the AVAX charts, the ADA charts that I'm looking at right now, they really do apply to all of the altcoin markets. Checking these moving averages, checking the momentum oscillators. This is AVAX on the weekly. Finally coming back out of overbought, just chilling out for a little bit. And it's not uncommon for altcoins just to hang out in this general region during bull markets, right? So let these things cool off. Same thing for ADA. You go back to the ADA weekly chart. Let it cool off on the RSI, which it is right now, falling out of overbought on the RSI. It's exactly what we want to see. Setting the foundation, setting the launch pad for the next leg up. ADA, for instance, setting the launch pad for $1, right? These things need to happen. It's what happens every cycle throughout all of cryptos. This is what I've learned. This is what I've seen. And it's one of the most consistent things in the crypto market. So everybody, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen? There's so much speculation because none of us know how Bitcoin cryptos are going to react from a price perspective to the Bitcoin spot ETF news, to the Coinbase SEC news. It's a big next couple of weeks, so I can tell you that much. I appreciate you cruising through. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.